What is the future of the internet? Imagine we go back 25 years. Like, the internet was born in 1983. Tim Berners-Lee, it started off as the ARPANET. It was a bunch of physicists that wanted to be able to communicate with each other from lab to lab, etc. And it's interesting, I've said for a long time that with new disruptive tech, the bubble, i.e. tech bubbles, they tend to be twice the size and in half the time. Well, from 1983, it popped. The internet bubble popped in 2001. That was roughly 18 years. And then, cryptos, they were born in 2009. So half the time of that is 9 years. That puts us to where we are right now. So some may say we've already had that pop. I disagree, but either way you look at it, it's a great future for cryptos. There's a guy called Clifford Stoll, who back in 1995 said this: visionaries see a future of telecommuting workers, interactive libraries, and multimedia classrooms. They speak of electronic town meetings and virtual communities. Commerce and business will shift from offices and malls to networks and modems. And the freedom of digital networks will make government more democratic. Baloney. And that was 1995. Like, how wrong was it? No, the scary thing here is that he was spot on, wasn't he? In 1995, he pretty much forecasted exactly what we're doing right now, apart from that last word, baloney. And the thing is, when you look at history and old forecasts of, futurists at the time, humans are actually quite accurate. A lot of us do accurately predict the future, but sometimes we just don't believe it. We either think too small, it won't happen, and also we think in a linear sense when tech is exponential. So you can't think, what has the internet done over the last 5 years? Okay, in 5 years' time it's going to be this fast. It's not that at all. It's exponential, and especially when we have 5G, it's going to make, it's going to be crazy. And so the next time you see a crazy article of someone going, here's the future of cryptos or whatever, don't just instantly dismiss it. Try and work it through. This is the deception of linear versus exponential growth. So many things get lost over here. I use virtual reality all the time. I remember being in Great Yarmouth in the arcades. I think I was 10 years old, and there was a brand new virtual reality thing, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I thought I'd be having one in my home, like a headset, and then it buggered off for 20 odd years. But now it's making a comeback. And the only reason it's making a comeback is because the ancillary support systems around it are now catching up. We now have better graphics cards, we have better tech, we now have the internet. We didn't really have the internet when I was like 10 years old, or not like we know it. And that's when things go nuts. The next 5 years will be completely alien to the previous 5 years. And 20 years, I still think it's way too hard to tell, especially as we are here on pretty much every exponential tech that you can think of. And also, it really depends on how the world will look like, because if the world looks like this, like Mad Max, cryptos probably won't be around, will they? Water will be the currency, food and water and weapons. But if it looks like this, then cryptos are going to be probably shaping that to a massive degree. I think in reality it's going to be a mix of these. Hell, if you showed these two slides 40 years ago, like some people would have said this, but in reality right now we have parts of the world that do look like that and parts of the world that do look like this. So I think it will be a mix of the both. Has anyone seen the film Elysium? It could be like that. It could be. So, and the thing is, current tech solves current problems. And people try to solve future problems with current tech. It just doesn't work like that. We cannot solve, current tech with slightly improved bells and whistles, etc. And that's what, basically, the problems of tomorrow are going to be solved by techs that we can't even dream of right now, especially as AI gets exponentially better. AlphaGo, is everyone familiar with the board game Go? They said, 2 years ago, they said that AI would never beat the world's best Go player because it has more. I think because there's so many pieces on it, there's more potential moves that you can play in a game of Go than I think atoms in the solar system or something stupid like that. And they said AI is far too complex. It would never beat the world's best human player because there's some you have to be intuitive, etc. Well, last year, AlphaGo, the deep learning AI machine, absolutely destroyed the world's best Go player. And now, this year, it's got even better because it had a game against 50 of the world's best Go players and dominated all 50 at exactly the same time, concurrently, which is nuts. So things are getting ridiculous. Who remembers these? AOL CDs. I used to hoard these babies. This is where the crypto world is right now. We are still playing around with silly things like AOL internet CDs and dial-up modems. So I think it is too early to tell what cryptos will really be like in 5 or 10 years because we still have the mentality of what the internet was like back in these days. And we're still all Zil, Cardano, all the things that we're hearing right now, as I said, are just like the AOL, Netscape, and AltaVista of the time. That's it. The Facebook of the crypto world hasn't been born yet. It really hasn't. And we'll see this happen a lot more. So yes, quick question back?
Oh no, sorry, I'm
I know there's another guy. Bye.
Sorry, I was just going to ask. You said the Facebook of the crypto world hasn't been released yet. Do you think it will be imminently, or it has? We just don't know. It hasn't got to that size yet, or it's still coming?
It could, but don't forget, Facebook was born in 2006. That's 4 years after the bottom. Oh dear, what's that? Oh no, it's battery. Yeah. So yeah, Facebook was born 4 years after the absolute low of the tech bubble crash. 4 years after. So there was at least 10 years worth of crazy development. Yet Facebook is now like a behemoth of the world. So yeah, until crypto or DLT tech really does mature, I still think it's too early to tell. There will be industries that we can't even think of that will exist and pop up. Like, for example, oh yeah, I'll come on to this in a bit, and this is another reason why I think the debate between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin is so stupid. It really is. They're both silly. Like, put it this way: if Bitcoin was just to match the Visa transactions of up to 24,000 transactions per second, the block size would need to be about 370 terabytes, not 1 megabyte or 8 megabytes. So it's a stupid argument, and it's a bit like these, like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash are like horse-drawn carriages, and they're arguing about what type of tire they have to wear. I've got a better tire than you, yeah, but I've got better reins for the horse. Where in fact, it's what we actually need is like a Tesla motor, at the very minimum. And there's lots of talk of off-chain scaling solutions like Lightning and Raiden and Plasma, etc. But really, what happens is that the moment you have something like this, so this is an example of the Lightning Network or an off-chain scaling solution, what it actually does is it makes the actual crypto more centralized because you have these off-chain nodes which actually become central points of failure. It makes it more centralized. This is what a proper distributed network is. This is Facebook, Amazon, every business you can think of right now. The real estate trader, this is completely centralized with technically a private ledger. Everyone, people sort of shiver at the thought of, that company has a private ledger, it must be doing something dodgy. No, every business in here has a private ledger of some sort. Who here has a spreadsheet or a bookkeeping system? They're all private, aren't they? You don't want everyone to know who your customers are, and their details, etc. So yeah, I'd just be careful next time you sort of shudder at the word private ledger. There are instances where you do need a private ledger. Imagine having a medical distributed network. You wouldn't want your own data, your medical data, open and for the world to see, would you? So yeah, this is what I think are the prerequisites. We need something, no matter what it is, whether it's a platform or a currency or whatever, it needs to be able to do instant transactions, zero transaction fees, unlimited scalability, effortless cross-chain interoperability, microtransactions, smart contracts, and no choke points. I don't think there is any crypto that meets all of these just yet. There are a few that meet a lot of them, but not all of them. Yeah. I mean, Cardano wants to do all of this, and eventually they may get there, but really, it'll still have a choke point. Like, if Charles Hoskinson died today, what do you think would happen to the price of Cardano? Yeah, it would plummet, wouldn't it? If Vitalik Buterin died, Ethereum is going to get hammered. So really, even though a crypto could be all of these things, it still really does have a choke point, or something which can affect it. So yeah. There will be unimaginable techs and applications. I mean, going back 20 odd years, if you were to speak to someone, you know, let's say the internet wasn't around, and you said, oh, in 20 years time, we're going to have these really cool computer games where you're going to have 60 million adults running around the street with like a weird device in your hand, which is actually like a computer, blah, 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 which is more powerful than the moon lander rockets, blah, blah. Like, they'd look at you thinking, you're an idiot. Or you can find your future wife or husband online through this magical device that you're addicted to 24/7, and that you can swipe left and right for certain people if you wish. I don't know which way is which, but yeah, like they would laugh at you, and it's the same right now. So yeah, and also Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go. Whoa! Mic drop. Amazing. Pokemon. That's amazing. I just got burned by a 9-year-old. Pokemon Go couldn't exist 5 years ago. It couldn't exist. It literally couldn't exist 5 years ago because it didn't have the backup, the ancillary support systems around it. And to have this, you need 4G, a mobile phone, optical sensors, geolocation, electronic gyros, a mobile app, and way more. So can you see that like there's going to be all sorts of intermeshing, like an orgy of tech that will create all sorts of different things. Yeah. They went from 0 to 60 million users in, I think, 8 months or 9 months, which is ridiculous. And it actually did a lot of good because I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but they said Pokemon Go, that app made people walk an extra 1 million or 2 miles in that period or something stupid like that. So yeah. Now, there is mass uncertainty ahead. So it is all very well me saying, oh, the future is going to be amazing. It is and it isn't. I think over the next 5 years, hell, over the next 10 years, we're in for the biggest economic shitstorm that has ever happened, ever. One of the main reasons we had the subprime mortgage collapse was due to debt. We now have at least 4 times more debt. It was a debt crash. That's what happened. And we have at least 4 times more debt now. So it's inevitable that there will be another downturn. The question is when. Jim Rogers says it's going to start this year. Jim Rogers is a billionaire that's been ahead of the curve since the 1970s, and he's been a billionaire because he's been ahead of the curve. He's predicted every financial crash since the 70s and profited from it. So in a recent interview, I say recent, he said, this was a year ago, he said this is going to be the biggest crash of his lifetime. But hey. So yeah, in the short term, we're like those of you who know how to trade, you're going to be filling your boots. I personally can't wait. It's going to be great, but it is. Learn how to trade, honestly, so you don't need to be scared of stuff like that. And going back to all the different techs out here, like going back 20 odd years, we had one tech which was in exponential growth, the internet, and even a layman could go, okay, we now have the internet. in 20 years' time, you could sort of extrapolate what the internet may do. You know, faster communications, we can chat to people around the world, it will bring the world closer, yada, yada, yada. But now, we have all of these techs at that point here, there, literally. And so now virtual reality is making a comeback because we have other techs that can actually support it. There's one company that's just released a VR headset where there's a very small focal area in the headset which they claim is as good as human eyesight resolution. And so whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter, because if you look at the rate of, computer game advancement, like it's fair to say that within 5 or 10 years, we'll have a VR headset where the whole thing is as clear as human vision. So you'll be putting a thing on, you literally won't know the difference between you and like virtual reality. So, and then you have to look at the ramifications of that. Let's say you did have a really good, you had virtual reality contact lenses. Then all of a sudden, Ready Player Go or Ready Player One, anyone seen that cinema? That cinema movie, I sound so old. Has anyone seen Ready Player One? Yeah. So what happened in that film would then be a reality. Go and see it, by the way. Spielberg made it. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Sorry? Don't know. Pirate Bay's probably got it. No, you're not. No, I went to the cinema. Yeah. Yeah. So all of these are going to be, as I said, mingling with each other, creating all sorts of fancy, wonderful things. And I do believe humans are very, very clever, and we do get across. We do circumnavigate obstacles and problems, etc. And yeah, as I said, contactless, like that wasn't around 3 years ago, and that's only now a reality because of the things that we have right now. So, yeah, I mean, you've heard some of this before. I think these are no-brainers. We're eventually going to have an open and trustworthy political voting system. I think it won't be long until we have a leaderless nation. There's already a few Bitcoin billionaires that are getting together to buy an island. I know Roger Ver has got together with some of his chums and they've bought an island, and it's going to be the first crypto nation, completely independent. And a lot of their plans are around, a completely leaderless nation. And I think we'll probably have AI as government advisors at some point. Why not? It won't be. In fact, I look forward to the day where you can get the accumulative minds of all the best CEOs in the world, and then having an AI that analyzes everything that every CEO has done, all the good and the bad things they've done, and then you can pay a membership like 400 quid a month or whatever to have that AI as a chairman on your board. Or a personal assistant go, okay, here's my problem in the business, what do I do? Well, Siam, based on 10,000 different things from whatever, and they could give you a stats-based and a data-based decision. I think that'll be really good. Especially as voice tech is getting better. Like, we all think Siri is shit. It is shit. And Google Voice is crap. It's been around for ages, but if you actually look where Siri started like 5 years ago compared to where it is now, the growth is ridiculous. And give it another couple of years, it's going to get so good that it will literally blow your mind away. Have you all seen that Google thing? Basically said, Google, book me an Indian restaurant or something like that, and Google makes the phone call and basically books a table. Like, yeah, watch the advert. Governments around the world to reduce by 90%. I'm sorry if there are any civil workers here, but 90% of governments are bloated and they shouldn't actually exist. They're run completely in a incongruent way for efficiency, because if there's a government department, they get so much funding per year. If they don't spend all of their funding, they get less funding next year. So what do? Oh shit, we've got a month left till the end of the year. Spend, spend, spend. I know of some unscrupulous web design companies that prey on councils that haven't spent their full allocation. And they charge like £50,000 for a simple website for councils. And like, I was disgusted by that director. I was like, do you not feel like you're conning the taxpayer? Because that's really what they're doing. So yeah. Whereas in a company, like if you underspend from your budget, your upline are probably going to think, oh wow, you're a really good manager. We're going to give you more money because you know how to manage it. Unifying the world where silly conflicts end. Possibly, I think for as long as humans are around, we're always going to squabble around energy and power and money and stuff like that. Colonizing space, praise Elon. Universal basic income will be here. That means I love having dinner parties with like my in-laws and normal people. I love it because they're always so boring. And like, you know, conversation is like talking about EastEnders and Dead Enders and Love Island. I'm like, it just bores me to bits. And I always like putting a controversial grenade in. And whether it's, you know, religion, 9/11, cryptos, or universal, or, you know, robots destroying all jobs, etc. And yeah, I did one the other day with Ellie's baby friend. You know, you do hypnobirthing and NCT, etc. You make friends with the other mummies and daddies. We had like a dinner, and I was like, oh, what about, you know, all your jobs are going to disappear and UBI, blah blah blah. Oh, I felt like, yeah, I sort of regret I even brought that up. But it's interesting. They all thought I was an idiot, and the thought that the government would pay them like $1,000 a month just to live and not have a job, or, you know, or no, just to live, blew their mind like open. They said that would never happen, blah blah blah, and they're even more surprised that there are experiments in countries around the world that have been doing it for years. In the is it the Netherlands? They've been sorry? Scotland, wow.
Italy might be trying it very
Yeah, there's loads of countries where they've been trialing it, and the results have been good. So all that happens is, yes, AI, robotics, 3D printing, they're going to upset and displace so many different industries, but all it's going to do is displace us into different things. Like how we all used to be farmers, and then we had tractors and stuff, and then we got displaced into higher level things. So what we'll end up doing is being pushed up to a higher level. And because there will be a vast amount of the population that will refuse or won't upgrade themselves or go into another job, yeah, you have, you know, the potential of riots, etc. So yeah, UBI may come in as a bit of an appeasement, like, oh my, yeah. So like lorry drivers, yeah, lorry drivers, taxi drivers, like if you are a driver of some sort, you are screwed. Like, you don't need to be a futurist to imagine that. You've got like 5, maybe 10 years max. So I'd start up leveling yourself now. AI, yeah, developed and hopefully harnessed. Abundant energy. Solar is like the only obvious thing. Like, I don't know the stats, but it's something like 84,000 times more power lands in the space of an hour than we need per year, or something stupid like that. So if we just really get solar or PV technology up, that's all we really need. Yeah, communication, instant, free and unlimited. We're going to see loads of things that we're paying for these days become free eventually. It's called zero marginal cost. Transport, free, fast, and fatality zero, etc. And yeah, I mean, transport is an interesting one as well. The moment we nail, what time is it? Almost time. The moment we nail automatic driving, and we combine that with a distributed ledger technology, and we combine that with the Internet of Things, we will have a transportation system completely alien to what we have now. For a start, you won't have traffic lights. 90% of cars will disappear. Let's say you, like, I think, yeah, no, that's another example. And also what you'll see is that when you incorporate stuff like that, the transportation system will look more like things in the real world. Does anyone know the world's most efficient transportation system? Feet, no. Japan, no. Nope. It's in here right now. It's the blood system. Your blood is the best transportation system on the planet. It delivers, you know the red blood cells? It transports oxygen to every part of your body, and it squeezes it in there. Like if you look at a traffic jam and you may be in like 30 cars back, most of those cars are like one person. Whereas if you can fit 30 people in one vehicle, or 30 tiny, personal space vehicles, all of a sudden a lot of that space is taken up. And when you get this, like you'll end up, I saw a cool TED talk, and basically you won't be able to manually drive on the roads where you have a transportation system like that. But it looked exactly like the pelvis system of a flying I forgot the animal. Sorry? I have no idea, but it was basically it looked identical to the pelvis of a flying animal, and nature, and it's because it was following nature. Nature is the most efficient thing out there. Yeah, and VR becoming indistinguishable.